Oregon is a land of contrasts. It's a land of abundance and isolation, of gathering storms and peaceful valleys. Good people live out here in these quiet places. People who care about Oregon's past and dream of its future. People who have a vested interest in protecting the state's natural resources. Over the last century, ranching has come to define much of Oregon. Its past, its present, its tomorrow. And it's much more than just cattle, sheep, and horses.
Ranchers in this state have a lot of land that they run their animals on, and so they're the ones that are taking care of water and making sure that the water that we have is clean. It's important for their livestock, number one, and then that is a benefit to the rest of us in Oregon. They provide habitat for wildlife, deer, elk, birds of all kinds. It's these folks that are out taking care of the land for their own animals that also provide an incredible environmental benefit for all of Oregon.
We're an important part of the economy, we're an important part of the people, and we're an important part of conserving the environment. We are the ones on private lands that protect the wildlife, that have the ability to enhance the wildlife.
We look at ourselves as really being the front line of protection to make sure that species don't go extinct.
Well, I think you gotta realize what most ranchers, what their love is. It's love for animals and a compassion for animals and a love for the outdoors, and with that in mind, you've got people that are out there trying to preserve that.
In Oregon, we've had tremendous support from the ranching community. Well, species like the sage grouse, like the pronghorn, in and of themselves, these are kind of iconic creatures that occupy the West. And to maintain ranching and other uses that have occurred in the West for the last 100 or so years is really an important and integral part of keeping that conservation moving forward. Because without those players at the table and their support, it's going to be very difficult for us to move any sort of conservation effort forward.
There's not any more land being made, and it's important to take care of what we've got, and at the same time make sure that land provides serious economic contributions to this country.
I'm like everyone else. I have a connection to the ground. The Indians said that their home is where their people are, and on our ranch we have a cemetery and 5 generations are buried there, and I know that's where my people are. So I am very connected both physically and mentally to the ground.
The DeFries family came to Oregon in the 1880s, settling along the upper reaches of the Powder River. They know their future hinges on productive land and healthy streams. So they've spent the last decade restoring 2,500 acres of land along the valley floor that was ripped apart by dredge mining in the mid-20th century.
We agreed with the county who owns the land. They took it back from back taxes that something positive could be done with the land, and so with good advisors we started with cattle rehabilitating the dredge tailings.
We leveled it just enough so we could get a farm tractor over it to feed and put down some organic matter and some seed and have the cattle hoof action work up the ground a little bit.
We keep an inventory of wildlife, and so far we've inventoried 34 different mammals and about 130 different bird species.
Both Dad and I really want to be able to pass this on to the next generation and leave the ground and land and that we love so much in good shape and be able to pass it on to the next generation.
Oregon would not be Oregon without the salmon that push up its rivers and streams each year. Along the banks of the John Day River, the Jacobs family has worked hard to protect and improve salmon spawning habitat.
The salmon, they're a native species to the John Day River, and it's important for people to
to maintain those native species, that we want to restore this habitat to what it was like, however many years ago, and to get the native species back into the system. And we've done some cooperative projects with the NRCS also on gated pipe projects and some irrigation efficiency projects to try to be more efficient with water. We've done several different drain projects where they've drained swampy meadows. So it was kind of a good win-win situation for us, where we got the fields drained and got higher productivity out of them, and it also was returning more water so they'd have a higher river flow during the peak season, like in August, when the river's drawn down. So it's helping cool water and add more volume for better spawning habitat. We've actually taken acreage away from our land, grazing acreage and haying acreage with the fences, but it was a decision on our part that we wanted to do something positive for the ecosystem and for the riparian habitat of the John Day River, and we felt it was, it's our responsibility as landowners to do a good job with that, because we're the ones that have to live it day to day, and our families are going to have to, and our kids and grandkids, and we have 100-year goals around here and longer than that. We're here for the duration, and so that's real important to us.
Perhaps no other natural resource is more critical to the future of Oregon than water. For generations, ranchers have understood the need not only to conserve its quantity, but also ensure its quality. The stewardship of the Martins, who ranch in the Baker Valley, has resulted in protection of both.
The water conservation and the impoundment that we've done, and the water quality and the management of it that we've done here, is so extremely important for not only production agriculture but for the environment. This creek that we're on right now, which is Wolf Creek, is a continuous year-round flow now because of this reservoir. I like to relate back to an old-timer that when I first got going in this business here, he related to me that when his kids were little, and that was before the Wolf Creek Dam was put in, that they would catch 8 to 10 inch trout in Wolf Creek, and that after the reservoir was built, that his grandkids would come over and they would catch 12 to 18 inch trout out of it. The sustainability of what we're doing here is beyond measure, and this is only one small area of what irrigated agriculture does for Oregon. You take just this one small project and multiply it by the many that are around the state, and it relates to huge economic impact as well as environmental.
The beef cattle industry in Oregon contributes about $560 million directly to the Oregon economy. Now, our local Chamber of Commerce in Ontario or Baker City say that those agriculture dollars turn over 7 times. So that $560 million direct contribution just from the sale of cattle and calves turns into a couple of billion really quick.
The farm, ranch, and families in this state provide 10% of our state's economy. So agriculture in the state is very, very much a critical part of Oregon's economy, and it's done by just our fellow members in the community.
The product that we produce, we want the most wholesome, healthy product that we can, and raised in the most common sense, practical way that's in a sustainable method that is going to preserve this ranch and then our property and the resources that we have for future generations.
If we don't have ranchers out taking care of the land, who is going to take care of it? And what is going to be the cost to the public of doing that?
The ranching industry's commitment to Oregon is not just a passing fancy. It's steeped in tradition, tempered by reality, tested by trial and error. Ranchers are Oregon's original stewards of the land, protecting its open spaces, streams, and meadows. It's a community of people, of Oregonians. And because of the work they do, Oregon remains a land of contrasts, where there's room enough to dream and room enough for all.